I want to ask you folks all one thing. Did you miss us? Because I know it's been quite some time. So I guarantee you, I will screw things up tonight because I will not remember how any of this crap works or where any of the stuff is hidden at. So just bear with me, all right? We're putting the training wheels back on a little bit here. But we've got an awesome show for you tonight. We're going to be talking about Boelen's pythons. So I hope you're ready because I know basically nothing about them. And I've kind of kept myself in the dark. I didn't do a whole lot of research or anything for tonight because I want to be able to basically have this be that learning experience and, just kind of dive into it live with you guys. So we're going to go ahead, bring out our amazing co-hosts, and then we'll bring out our guest. So let's go ahead. Mr. Shelley, which is the one that came up with this great idea for our guest tonight.
Yes.
Long time no see.
Yeah, man. Coming down off that extra long weekend this weekend. Fucking great time.
I was exhausted.
Oh, yeah.
One of the most exhausting show weekends I've ever experienced.
It's great, man. Getting pulled every which way and talking to people and just that mental exhaustion is just it's something that you don't get all the time, but when you get it, you know it.
So that was one. Everybody, for anybody that doesn't know or forgot, Chris and I shared a booth at Fredericksburg, Virginia for AARPE. Saturday, by the end of the show, I literally we were going to go out to eat, Kara and I and the kids. I told her, I just got to go back to the room. And you got to let me collapse just a little bit here, just to decompress. I was done.
You got de-stress.
Oh, no. It was a great show. I did not do well sales-wise, sadly. But I will say this. It's a full... when you're having fun, when you don't care how you do sales-wise. That's where I was at with that one. I didn't care how I did sales-wise. I just had a blast. So that's all that really mattered to me on that one.
Yeah, the foot traffic was great, and I read a U-Haul trailer and I went nuts. I brought like 2 or 3 flats of plants. I brought big banana trees. I brought the cocoa. So if we had just between the lodging and the show and all that stuff, if I just to rely on snake sales, it wouldn't have been the best weekend. But I mean, the plants is what surprised me. We sold a crap ton of plants.
So, Chris, if anybody looks at some of the photos or reels or anything beforehand, it looked like we had a rainforest at the beginning of the show. And it looked like someone done cut down that shit.
I told you, man. I told you I was bringing the plants. We were going to be surrounded. We had banana trees, avocados. We had all kinds of stuff, man. It was time.
It was funny. It was funny. All right, let's go ahead and bring out our other awesome co-host, which I missed this guy. I might spend this weekend with this man and his lovely wife. The one and only John, Four Eyes Triforce. What's up, everyone?
Yay.
Since when do you wear glasses?
Bro, I just got a new set finally.
You got old.
Yeah, I'm getting old, brother.
He's a grandfather now.
Yeah, I'm a grump. I'm a child.
I'll be honest, dude. I didn't know you wore glasses. I've got to adjust to this now.
Bro, I'm blind as a bat.
All right, hold on here.
Yes.
Say that one more time for everybody.
I can't see far.
Okay.
I can see up close perfectly fine, mister. I can't fucking see the yellow and fucking example. Don't do that with me. But I can't see a stop sign 20 feet.
Ooh, no, I'm not that bad. 40 yards with the bow is getting rough for me.
Bro, I lost it many years ago.
Yeah.
I wear them driving and everything, so.
Okay.
But now I just finally got bifocals, they're clear line bifocals. Since I started a new job with Nate this year, the health benefits got us some new business. So, I'm getting a little raggedy. I could start to get too many scratches to see through them.
The glasses still aren't going to see the mystery hats, though, so you never know.
Well, no, definitely not. We'll see. Maybe I'll try rocking them this week and see if I'm cause more sales. A little more studious. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, she is.
Yes, I put on the khakis and a nice little shirt. Hello, salesman.
There you go. It's business.
Before we bring out our guest, everybody, this weekend, Baltimore Repticon, Timonium Fairgrounds, get your butts out there and buy some crap from us. All right, John needs some room. All right, John always needs room, but John really needs room with what he told me he's got coming to be hatching out here in the next couple of weeks.
Anybody coming through that door, like I said, come see me. I got everything from A to Z. We're bringing probably about 100.
From Xanthic to zebra.
I don't got a zebra.
I'm just hoping someone I'm hoping that guy from Fredericksburg comes to Repticon and picks up that carpet. Because I had one dude, like, I told it, like, he wanted that thing so bad because I don't have anything set up for it. I was like, if you have it at Repticon, I'll come pick it up. I was like, dude, if you really want it, put a deposit down on it.
Yeah.
I don't guarantee, He thought about it, he walked off, he goes, I'll be right back, and he never came back. So I don't know if the wife told him, no, you got to wait. If it's going to be there, it's going to be there, or what. But
Watching, my byproduct is off the hook this week. It's I would keep, but I just made a couple of it. Like, it's going to be good stuff.
Come out and show up.
Yep. Tell the folks tonight. I guess I'm proud. We've got 19 people in the chat right now.
All right, man. Remember to
say hi to everybody
Thank
after we bring our guest out here.
Okay.
Everybody, make sure you guys are hitting that like button, please.
Yep.
Tell everybody who we got tonight, bro.
So tonight we have a gentleman that came across my radar early on. I wouldn't say crazy early on, but it's been quite a few years, and I've been following him and watching what he's been doing and other podcasts, and it's just really interesting stuff. And it's always kind of something that I kind of always wanted to do personally. Maybe not to the extent that he's doing it, but to the extent that he's doing it is awesome. It's above and beyond. I would kind of want to just kind of do it more like the adventure side, and go and check things out. But he's doing it, it's the passion and what he portrays when he comes across speaking about it. Like, you can tell that, like, he has so much more to accomplish, and it's just getting started. So it's Ari Flagle. He is the Boland's Python research. It's very intriguing. So let's bring him out.
And everybody, links for Ari are in the description down below for Instagram and his website, which website looks amazing. I was about ready to start diving into it, and then Kara pulled me away. Like an emergency, and I never got back to doing it. So I thought, well, you know what? We're just gonna come in with this kind of blind, and we're gonna learn on the fly with this one tonight. So let's bring out Ari. Ari, what's up, man?
Hey, what's going on, guys? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here tonight, man. Thank you.
Definitely. Let's say hello to some people here in the chat quick, because I miss these people. I'm sure they missed us. I mean, it's been 3 weeks. Marcel, what's going on, dude? Good to see you. Morbid Morph, what's going on?
Marcel Thursday.
What's going on? Good to see you.
Got to meet him last weekend.
Sean, what's going on? Good to see you. I think that's a new face, possibly. I don't know that name in the chat before. Welcome. Let's see here. Jamie, what's going on? Good to see you. Tara Voodoo Doll Royals, what's going on? Good to see you. Channel member. Keith, what's going on, bro?
Keith.
James Perry, what's going on? Good to see you. The one and only Mr. Phil. So you got to get your date set up here for your breakfast, because
that's like 2 weeks, right?
Did he ever pick a date?
I
don't know if you ever picked a date, or if we're doing breakfast, supper, or whatever. Phil, you got to figure that shit out, bro. My vote was for supper. I wanted some prime rib night or some shit. Some of y'all wanted eggs and bacon. Come on.
Breakfast.
Prime rib. Sheesh. No matter what, I'll try to make it. And that actually catches us up for who's in the chat anyway tonight. All right, we will iron that out right away. Yeah, come on, Phil. Chop, chop, brother. Chop, chop. Get your shit in line. Oh, look at this. Look at this.
What?
Nate, the one person that should be up here with us, and he's not again. The only co-host that's never co-hosting.
He's cleaning snake poop.
We've made excuses for him far too many times. I think he's just gone through some plastic surgery or something, like got some Botox and lips or some shit, and he's afraid to make an appearance.
Sharon's got him tied up.
In that case, Nate, you just go enjoy yourself, brother. Thanks for tuning in.
Got him tied up with the blue belt or the yellow belt.
Oh my
I don't
god!
see that anymore either, bro. I'm every day.
We got feedback from somewhere.
Chris, mute yourself for a second. Yeah. I don't know why is feedbacking so bad.
I don't know, I'm thinking.
I was muted, but I could still hear the feedback.
Yeah, I think the feedback's coming from Ari's side. Ari, do you have like it coming through two different channels as far as like the volume or anything? No.
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll just run with it.
It sounds like something's weird.
Walton, what's going on, dude? Good to see you, bro.
No,
Let me run the first channel sponsor here, and we will get the show on the roll. Hopefully, y'all like the new ad for Gettysburg that I kind of half redid, was forced to rebuild. Not by Joe, though. Not by Joe, because of transferring things from one computer to another. Anyway, it is what it is. So here we go. Gettysburg Reptile Expo. Let's go. Gettysburg Reptile Expo LLC is one of the premier shows of the Northeast. Located at the All-Star Event Complex in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, it's a 45,000 square foot venue that houses 270 plus tables, 125 plus breeders, with an amazing selection of snakes, lizards, geckos, amphibians, and invertebrates. Doesn't matter if you're a breeder looking for that next high-end piece to your project or a pet owner looking for your next scaly friend. Stop it off the SC Serpents there to meet all of your racking and incubator needs. The next show dates are November 8th, 2025, March 28th of 2026, and July 18th of 2026. So make sure you stop out, and I will see you at Gettysburg Reptile Expo LLC. Oh, John's switching the hats up. Oh, he put on a terrible hat.
Come on, man, terrible.
You'll put your other hat back on.
What was the final score?
20-17.
I'm assuming the Eagles won then.
Come on, Jeremy. You don't have to show your Pennsylvania support.
Each week by 3. We'll take it.
Oh, yeah. You know sports. Ari, bring us down to a regular level here. And tell us a little bit about yourself. What got you into the whole reptile thing to begin with, and what led you into kind of what you're doing?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I guess I just share the fascination of dinosaurs with so many people, and this is pretty much as close as it gets. We all share that love, and it just evolved into something bigger and better, and just that's where I'm at.
Sweet. I do want to say, anybody in the chat, if you have questions, put them in the chat. I'll star them, and we have time during the live. We'll start going down through the questions and answering them and everything. So put them in the chat, and we'll get through them and get to that point of the live. Take over, Chris.
So I want to, if you could explain to everybody, like what basically got you started and focused on the Bolins in personal, like in general, what started that flame and made you dive so deep?
All right. So I guess obviously, like I said earlier, I've been infatuated with dinosaurs as a kid, and that kind of grew into reptiles, studying reptiles, learning about reptiles, and being asthmatic, having asthma growing up. It was hard for me to have like the typical furry animals as a pet because I would have asthma from it. So like reptiles were my go-to. So as I grew and matured, my love for reptiles and everything reptilian continued, but it just increased. So I was fortunate enough to, I basically put myself into places where there were specialists, I guess you could say, or I'd be going to reptile shows like every opportunity I had. So I'd be, basically that nosy little kid that was like looking around the corner, at what somebody was talking to. And, a lot of those people that I was creeping around on the corner were really large industry names at the time. So I was listening to a lot of what they were talking about. And, it's like I got a lot of experience working with so many different species of reptile, not just common things, but really exotic things for the time that, I was growing up. And I remember one of the things that really was profound to me was as I was, evolving, I guess you could say, I kept a lot of books and a lot of literature, and I was always watching TV programs and things. And I had a book, The Living Snakes of the World by John Mertens, and it was like, I think, published in 1987. A lot of people have it. If you don't, I recommend having it because it's just a great historical piece. It has so much useful information in it, and it's just a great all-around book for everybody to enjoy. And I remember thumbing through all the pictures because it's a big book, and I got to Indonesian snakes, and I would see like white-lip pythons, strip pythons, and all sorts of other different species from Indonesia. And then it went into Papua in New Guinea, and I saw this snake that was on the cover, and it was just this absolutely breathtaking animal to me. And there was just so much limited information that was even listed. I think it was like barely a paragraph of information that was kind of like, describing this animal. Basically it said, 8 to 9 feet, it lives in the highlands from New Guinea. They feed on this, they have iridescence, and that was it. And at that point I was like, wow, this is, such a visually impacting animal. Why is there just so much lack of information for it? So I started kind of researching more and more, and I was in my early 20s at the time.
What year was it, Ari? Sorry.
This was probably early 90s, I would say. Early to late 90s. I just kind of like kept trying to find more information and more reference for this animal, being that it was so enigmatic that it was hard for me to find anything. It was all just the repetitive information over and over. So that kind of fueled it. So at that point, I was like, trying to reach out to individuals that had let alone seen an animal or, had an animal or had an experience with it. And I just realized that, that there was virtually nothing at that time aside from the fact that they are beautiful, they come from New Guinea, and they don't do well in captivity. And the reason behind that is we don't know. So, sorry. So, that kind of started it right there. And then I kind of got to the point where, I had started also, like I had this, I think I was 22 or 23 at the time. I had this crazy idea. I was like, I'm going to write a book about this snake. So I started researching everything, and I got to, like I said, to this point where it was just repetitive information. And, I've been running the gambit of people to talk to, and they were kind of like, at the certain level I was at with, there's not much. So I got on a plane and I went to New Guinea. And it was at that point where, it really solidified what I was going to be doing with the rest of my life and pretty much who I was at that point. So that was the real start. And then after that, I think my first trip was early 2000s in I've been going over for over a decade now. Just observing these animals, trying to collect as much data and information, be involved with the local people there, and then just kind of gather everything I could, because we just didn't have anything to really resource that was, beneficial at that time, or past what was already being given that was very limited.
Right. Explain how important it is to build a relationship with
building
local
relationships,
stuff like that.
not just with people that are, not just with indigenous people or people that are living in those countries. Building a relationship just in your community is critical. It creates who you are. It also creates an impression for other people that don't know you. You can do so much more with a positive relationship than you can with a real shitty one. People are going to trust you a lot better. They're going to show you things. They're going to teach you things, let you experience things versus, the opposite. So that was a really important, like a detrimentally critical event that I had to establish early on with this. Now that it's my family over there, being able to trust me with information and being able to, safely navigate to these areas, because where I go, it is incredibly dangerous still. And it's just not an easily accessible area logistically, as well as just personally with these people, because you're on tribal land. You're not in a government controlled area. You're on your own. And I'm in some areas that are extremely remote. I travel with satellite phone because obviously there's no cell service where I'm at. And I'm out there for weeks at a time living with these people in these villages that, by all accounts, used to be headhunters in some spots. And it's real primitive.
I definitely want to get us some stories and recent trips and things that I've heard on other talks that I think some of the people might not have heard, but I definitely want to get into that. Anybody have any questions? Does it still sound bad on that end, Jeremy?
See, we get a little bit of echo. I was trying to play with your mic settings and everything. Nate was here talking to me too about it.
I keep muting it when I'm not talking. I don't know if that's helping.
Can you go into your settings, Chris? Because I was playing with some of your mic settings at one point here. Go to your mic settings and see if you can't adjust your mic volume.
Okay.
And then, because I selected it to automatically adjust mic volume, but maybe if you adjust your mic volume and then select the reduce mic background noise, it'll cancel everything and make it all better.
Yeah, I could go to default and see if that does anything.
Oh, that might, see what happens there though too.
All right. While I'm doing that, what? Not to jump back and forth, but I was kind of curious. What is your personal collection consist of? Do you have anything in your personal collection?
Yeah, so I travel a lot. I'm in New Guinea at least twice a year, and I also curate a large collection here at Reptile, which is the zoo I work for. So I'm really involved with that. So, and then on top of that, I also do a lot of travel for presentations and lectures and stuff like that too. So I travel a lot. So, however, I help. Like I said, I help curate this large collection at Reptile, and I also have a small private collection of my own, which are obviously bolins. But over the years, I've kept so many different species, and I have so many different favorite animals that I've worked with, as well as species. So I've kind of really fine-tuned it down for something that obviously I'm really passionate about working with bolins pythons, and it's just I've been asked if you could keep one single animal, and before they finish it, I'm like bolins, so it's that's what I do. So I have bolins, and I think I have a couple venomous species that I keep also privately, and then a couple oddball things, and that's about it.
Okay.
Nice.
Do you breed any of that stuff, or is it just solely pure joy and
well, the bolins are being raised up. This is another group that I'm raising up that will be eventually breeders that I'll utilize at the facility as well. And then the vipers I've bred those too, and they were just kind of like a pet project. Okay. So that's about it.
What has been your your personal experience with the Bolins in captivity. Like, how many have you tried to raise? Just your quick ups and downs with your collection you've been trying to build in captivity.
Oh, I've raised a lot of bones. I've had some. I've raised several dozen, I would say. I've also, I worked at a large AZA institution, which was a large facility in Texas, and I took care of their animals as well. One of the tough things was, I don't know if you guys remember, when I first moved out here into the Johnson City area outside of Boston and San Antonio, where the facility is. We had this huge historical freeze. I don't know if you guys remember or heard about it. This was a number of years ago. And I lost my first initial group in that freeze, where we got temperatures down to like, I think it was like 12 or so degrees. And I had a nice building outdoors. My wife and I actually slept in it that night because we wanted to make sure the temperatures were going to be okay. And, we woke up, I think at like 2 or 3 in the morning. And then we're like, okay, everything's good. We've hit our low, and we went back up into the house and went to bed. And then we woke up later because our alarm clocks didn't go off because we lost power. And we had lost power for 2 weeks, and my animals had died that night. So I lost a group of 8 animals that I had raised from neonates that were adults, and they were, going to be my potential breeders. So it was really tough.
Yeah.
And then, we also had other animals in there too, so it was really hard losing those animals. And then, there was a period of time where I lapsed from getting back keeping personal stuff again, just because of the big loss. And I had built a really nice, it was like a 20 by 20 building with, all sorts of like the bells and whistles on it as far as safety goes. And I was raising up another group of animals, and the building caught fire. So then I got a double kick in the balls on that one. And I had I had some zoo animals in there as well too. So it was a really, really devastating time. And then at that point I was kind of ready to just turn it in, and I'm not going to keep anything privately anymore. But, my wife convinced me to get back on the horse, so to speak, just because it's my passion, what I do. And now I'm raising up another group of animals that are coming up on their 2-year mark now. So there you go. I've raised a lot.
That 2 hits like that. Oh my god!
Yeah.
I can't even. That really I didn't even go through it. It makes me have sick to the stomach just thinking about it.
I have anxiety.
Every keeper's worst fear. I mean, it really is. And we can try to do everything we can to make sure that doesn't happen, but things happen that are out of our control. And like I said, it's a sickening feeling because obviously, the loss of the connection, but what's the really hard part is the animals didn't have the chance. I couldn't help them, and that's what it still kills me. So I've got a lot of PTSD from the I've never had it before, but I had it from the fire, just because it was just a real messed up event, and it just was terrible. So, but yeah, so I've worked with a lot, and I've raised a lot of babies, and I've raised a lot of adults and stuff like that, and I've helped people out with their animals too. So it's so this group I'm raising up now will be a solid group foundation for potentially some breeders down the road.
Nice. Do you know what caused the fire?
No, we never found out. I had made the insulation really, really extra hardy because of our temperatures here, and I really wanted to maintain optimal temperatures in my building. And when the fire department came out, they said they had trouble getting in between the walls with the insulation, and that's where they believed the fire had started, in between, so they couldn't get in. But it took 8,000 gallons of water, and it took 3,000 gallons of flame retardant on it. And then the fire restarted itself again 3 hours later. So they had to come back. So it was nuts. It was a really
nightmare,
surreal moment. Yeah.
Jeez. All right. So overall, who in the industry is breeding successfully? And do you have any reasons why? Is it elevation? Is it food cycling? Is it temperature? What do you feel about that?
So Within the last, I would say probably within the last 15 or so years, we've really made positive leaps in just being able to really understand our captive animals better than we have historically. You know, in the early 70s and late 70s into the 80s, you know, wild-caught adult animals would be coming in legally, and they would just, by the time they would get into captivity in competent hands, they would just die. They just did not do well. There was, you know, severe parasitic load, the stresses involved with, you know, being collected and, you know, housed and then shipped. Just a gamut of, you know, bad scenarios. And they had a tendency and a reputation for just basically, you know, falling off the stick, so to speak. So, up until recently, within the last, like I said, 10 to 15 years, we've had access to, you know, farm-bred babies that have really acclimated well to captive setting and to captive regimens. And that was the biggest hurdle to overcome, was to say, okay, we can raise these animals up as healthy animals. I mean, obviously, we still have issues with anything because we're dealing with live animals. So, but we're now able to, you know, not habituate, but we're able to acclimate these animals to our captive settings better with the knowledge that we're being able to provide. With that being said, you know, there have been some significant successes. However, this species is different as opposed to other species in general, because there's been success, but then you'll get a phase where it's, or like a period where the animals just, there's no reproduction. You're having issues with, you know, clutch size, egg size, you know, animals retaining eggs, animals not producing, animals, you know, not ovulating, you know, things like that. So to say we're at a success. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Is that individual breeders, or is that like across the collective of a handful of breeders?
It's a pretty wide gamut of,
so there's like 1 year where it's just whack.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's like, you know, we're going to get like, you know, we'll have a good clutch that'll be deposited, and then, you know, the next year we'll have like a really sporadic clutch, or the eggs will be really large, or, you know, they fail to go long term. I mean, we're still at an infancy stage with reproduction successfully with these animals, you know, but that in turn is, you know, there are a number of people that are working now. I would say there's less than 5 people now that are having more consistent success with this species than most. And a lot of it is, you know, unfortunately, a lot of people will get into this with the mindset of a monetary gain from these animals. And that's just not the case with this species. You're not going to be rich breeding Boelen's pythons. You're going to be bald, you're going to be neurotic, you're going to be crazy, and you're going to hate everything, because there's no reason why these animals, you know, should not be reproducing. However, they're very, very unique in their habitat as well as just behavior. And
I'm going to get into that, you know, later.
I think our success is really going to turn from being able to reproduce these captive bred animals in our collections with each other, as opposed to using these, you know, farm bred animals that are still potential, you know, still realistically wild caught animals. You know, it's different. It's like when we had green tree pythons back in the 70s and 80s, and nobody could get them to work. And now they were starting, you know, they're breeding the you know, captive bred animals to captive bred animals, and it eliminates a huge issue of problems that, you know, stem from having these snakes. And, you know, and now we're able to produce wild caught animals when we bring in animals. So, you know, that is the hope of the long-term goal, is to be able to alleviate, you know, any issues, you know, being able to reproduce these in captivity by utilizing our captive animals. And that should be the goal for most captive, you know, animals in our collections. You know, obviously importing in animals for new lineage is an important thing. But we're not even on that, you know, realm yet with Bo and I. We're still just trying to figure out what works consistently and what works well to benefit both ourselves and the animals. And like I was saying, you know, a lot of people will get a pair of Boelens and they'll be like, oh my God, you know, I've got Boelens, I'm going to make some money on this. And it's, they're working with them for like 4 or 5 years. They swell up, they don't do anything, and they're like, you know what, screw this project, I'm going to sell them. And then those animals go to another set of hands. It takes 4 or 5 years for these animals to acclimate to that new condition, which is not going to work in your favor. And then you've got, 10 to 15 years of these animals already being in captivity. They've got only a few years left in captivity. So it's by the time, it just doesn't work. A lot of people will sell them to get out of it because it's not a profitable project. And that's just not what I'm into, but I'm not, hating on anybody for what they do, but it's just a reality with the snake species. It's not like that.
They got to get into the hands of some stubborn old dude that just doesn't want to give them
exactly. They've got to be. If you're going to have bolins, it's an animal that are going to stay with you until they die, and that's how it should be. Because a lot of animals, when we cycle them certain ways and things like that, it takes a lot of stress for these animals just to get acclimated to your captive conditions versus my captive conditions. And it's not going to prove in the. You might get lucky, but do it again, or, figure out what you did. That's the biggest thing. So, but there's some success going on. It's still not a, unlocked, box of this is the answer. It's still, we're still trying to figure it out, and that's exciting still.
This almost sounds like it's the perfect thing for you, Chris. Stubborn, old, already going bald. It's right up your alley. Not going to leave the house.
Hey, that's why I'm excited about this episode.
We all know I can't do it. I've got too many damn carpets, and I got the green tree. I got too much shit. I can't do it.
Locked me in my basement for 4 years.
Is Kai watching? Kai watching all this?
Kai is in it. Kai is in the chat. Yeah,
Kai is in the chat. We have somebody in the chat who's got a pair, so I was hoping he'd attend. So with seeing these out in the wild, like how would you describe like their perfect habitat? Have you seen any breedings, or have you just come across females on eggs and stuff like that?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of different scenarios with them. Their habitat is very interesting. First off, it's when you consider a large animal, and I consider these large animals because, they're getting into that 8 to 9, 10 foot range. So that's a big constrictor. You would consider these animals not to be living in the type of environment that they are inhabiting, which when I say that, it's, you've got on average, the temperature is dropping down into, upper 50s, even low 40s in certain situations. You've got constant rain and humidity, so it's damp. The environment is difficult to access. It's not a, it's not a real like conducive for activity kind of thing, if that makes sense. Like the environment is very non-forgiving. The animals, are out specifically for specific reasons. It's not just to be out. It's I'm out for basking, I'm out for drinking, I'm out for eating. Then I'm out for breeding, and that's it. I'm not going to be cruising around all over the place, looking for things. The females are very stationary. They have home ranges where they nest, which is an uncommon thing for a large constrictor. And when I say nest, I'm using that term kind of lightly because, when you think of a nest, you obviously go to like a bird and you're like, okay, they're creating this nest. Bolins aren't creating a nest. They're taking over a nest already and then making it theirs. And they're seeking out that perfect refuge and that perfect area for them to continue their cycle. So it's not like something, they have specifics that they require. They don't like it too hot. They don't like it, too wet, but yet their environment is very, very unique. It's very prehistoric, I always say, because that's what it reminds me of. It's like a highland bog in a lot of ways, where the animals are exposed to the environment, but they're not directly in the potentially dangerous areas, such as like standing water, or they're not exposing themselves. They're not sitting outside when it's 49 degrees or 55 degrees. They're not exposing themselves. They're very, very in tune with what they do, and there's a reason for it, because it maintains their survival and their creation of what they do. So I would say the environment once, and that's one of the things also that was proving to be so difficult prior was, bringing these larger animals in. They are already accustomed to these very extreme environments, and we're trying to acclimate them into, something that we don't fully understand and something that is just not going to work. And the babies that we're able to work with now to raise, we don't need to give them such an extreme range or extreme conditions. And they're proving out to work very well with that case.
So are the temps kind of similar that you would be keeping them at as, say, like a diamond python, roughly?
And
Something in
with,
that similar range?
Yeah, diamonds, in my opinion, get colder. And diamonds are more... I don't have a huge amount of experience with diamonds. I've never seen diamonds in the wild too, so I can't really evaluate like their behavior and like their ecology. I've read a lot of stuff about them, but in my opinion, they both experience very cold temperatures. They're both designed to maintain and survive in cold temperatures, but they're both very different. Bolins in my mind are more sedentary than diamonds are. I don't know if diamonds utilize the nesting kind of trait either, so to speak. But they're two different animals.
For people that aren't sure geographically, can you go into just like a little bit of detail of like kind of how you're comparing, because the diamonds are a little bit further south, right, of the equator compared to the Bolins, and the habitat of the Bolins, the mountain range, the east and the west side, right, and like how that differs, and just like the elevation and where you're going to see these, and a little bit of that.
Okay, so to give you an idea of where New Guinea is, because I run into that problem a lot with people, they don't know. So the island of New Guinea is basically the island that is right directly north above Australia. So it's that landmass there. The western portion of it is partially belongs to Indonesia, and it's politically divided, not geographically divided. The eastern portion of the island belongs to Papua New Guinea, or PNG. So I focus predominantly on observing these animals on the western portion of New Guinea. So West Papua, formerly known as Irian Jaya, still part of Indonesia. So they have not gotten their independence from Indonesia, where PNG has. The environment itself, also the second largest island in the world too, and it contains endemic animals that are nowhere found anywhere else on the planet.
Like Madagascar,
so
almost.
Very, very unique place. This particular snake favors elevations around, I'd say, around 6,000 to 8,500 feet, give or take. So they like it high up in elevation. They prefer this mountainous chain, this spine of chain of mountains that runs from the far west Birdheads Peninsula, which is at the very top left, or the Vogel Peninsula, it's also called. And then it kind of goes all the way down through the middle, and it goes down into PNG. Now, that mountain range, there's several mountain ranges that are part of it, but the easiest way to just refer to it is the New Guinea Highlands. And that way it'll, encompasses the far left all the way down to the far right. And the habitat itself, like I was explaining earlier, is very interesting. High elevation. Some of these mountain areas, they've got snow on the peaks, so it gets very, very cold up there.
That's nuts.
Obviously, bullets are not up at that high of an elevation because they would just not survive, but they've been able to figure a way to survive in these slightly lower elevations that are still really cold and wet, which is just fascinating for a large animal. So it's a really incredible place and an incredibly special animal. They're the predominant predator in this mountain range once they reach a certain size. There's a New Guinea eagle that will feed off of young ones, and then the only other predator they have is realistically just humans, because in some of these areas, some of the tribal people there will eat them. They're opportunistic, so they will take them. But some of the other people do not touch them just because of their spiritual beliefs and the ethnographic reference that these animals have in so many cultures on New Guinea.
Nice. I'm gonna cut real quick. We're gonna do a quick commercial. Take a little break here, Ari. And then when I come back, I want you to touch on these cultural beliefs and what you think they're preying on in the wild, the Bolins, and also just like the whole competition for food in general between everybody. You know, the Aborigines, the natives, all that stuff.
Sure.
Hit it, Jeremy.
Make sure you check out Nathan at Infinite Possible Pythons. He is your guy to go to if you want to get into the Bang project. On top of it, he's working a bunch of awesome ball python projects. Kahua geckos, Leachianus geckos, crested geckos, some scaleless corn snakes, and he is your one-stop shop for all your branding needs. So check him out. Check out Chris Shelley over at S Reptilia if you need a high-end ball python, blood python, locality boa, or colubrid. He's also Pennsylvania's distributor of Coco to Go and the Chipper, and he can also hook you up with some rats. So make sure you guys check out Chris over at S Reptilia.
All right. Chris, before we get this going, we still got some feedback problems. Did you go to your settings and lower your mic volume?
I went to default. I lowered my regular volume. Let me try something now.
Settings on StreamYard.
Settings, audio, echo cancellation is checked. Automatically adjust mic volume is checked. And it's on default. I can switch to speaker or headset earpiece.
See here, let's do something. I'm gonna reduce. All right, maybe that'll do it. Hold on here. Let me check all three. I think that did it. Or maybe it did because Chris is froze.
What about the section where, it puts hair on your head?
Up a little bit so I can hear you guys. Is that better?
It sounds better.
All right. So I lowered my volume through the YouTube app.
Okay.
Now talk.
It sounds better anyway.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds Barry White to me.
I might do this a little bit more.
Nate already texted me, said that's way better.
All right, that's what it is.
What'd you say, Chip?
I said, what?
What'd you say there, Sonny?
All right, just so you know, it's all right if you never come back here after this shit show.
Yeah. By the way, Ari, I'd love to expose myself.
Oh, God, yeah.
You're good.
Sortino, it is good to see you, sir. We haven't seen you in a while. I thought we chased you off.
I'm so busy. I was staying in the fence today.
Oh, I thought you were out there scalping your yard for the rest of the summer, for the rest of the fall.
Oh my God!
Cut it short now.
Some kind of grass my dog's allergic to.
Oh, geez.
I don't know what the hell's going on.
That's funny.
Oh my God!
Oh, what's going on? Thanks for tuning in. All right. Continue on, Mr. Shelley. Whoa, we lost John. We lost Sorrentino. What the world? Chris is frozen now.
All right.
Oh, all right. Now we're back.
I just wanted to go into like what these guys are eating in the wild that's sustaining them, and the fight for them to sustain, because you're dealing with an island, so I work with locality boas, and I know food is limited, sizes are limited. So what's getting a python that big? But then what are the challenges that the people on the island got to eat too, right?
Yeah, so the island is pretty large. So it's a very specialized endemic place. So there's a lot of food source. However, as you go up in elevation, you start lacking animal life, just because they have to adapt specially to this different kind of environment and climate. That the dietary analysis has never really been fully looked at on wild specimens. Obviously, there's been stomach analysis done on certain specimens, as well as animals that are what was I say? That have been collected in museum collections, and they're able to examine the stomach content on there, and they're kind of able to get an idea too. However, the predominant food source for these animals is an animal called a couscous, and it's about the size, and it's very similar to a North American opossum, but it looks way cuter. And they're
size meal.
Does it get that big as a possum?
So it's a big meal for a large animal like that. And now, when you think about it, realistically, a food source like that would sustain that animal for several weeks to a month easily. One of the things, and aside from that, there are ground rodents on the ground too, and there are some birds too. So in their diet, they're consuming both rodent, they're eating birds, and then the couscous makes up a big portion. The couscous is actually really important to them because the ground couscous that they feed off of frequently, they actually take over their nesting area, and that is basically how they're creating their nest. They go in there and they kind of spin around, make it just to where they want. It's perfectly set up for what they're doing, holds humidity, all that, everything, and it protects them from the elements outside as well. So it's a big factor for them. A real benefit to feed off those animals because it's kind of like a symbiotic thing. It's kind of similar like the bushmasters in South America. They feed off an alpaca rodent a lot, and they take over the burrows from that rodent too. So, but back to Bolins. So they feed off of those predominantly. The neonates and babies, they're very, very difficult to observe in the wild just because they're so small. And the areas where the animals live, it's just layers and layers and layers of ancient vegetation. So these animals are just, once they, shed and leave the nest and they're on their own, they just kind of dip down underneath all this vegetation. You'll never see them. So I've collected small little skinks that are there. I've seen little frogs too. So they're probably feeding off of that. And then, finding little, pockets of rodents and things like that to, so they can grow, obviously. But one of the big areas in captivity with these snakes, not to jump off topic, but it's kind of on the same, is the dietary needs that we're giving them in captivity. I see so many Bolins pythons in captivity obese. And
if they have a feeding response like a carpet, I can see it would be easy to make them obese.
The feeding response they have is not a natural feeding response. It is a creative feeding response that we're providing for them. So by basically, making that simpler to understand is, they see the door opening, they know there's food, so they're going to be on it. So then we have this kind of preconceived notion. It's like, oh, the snake's hungry. I feed my animals twice a month, and that's it.
Okay.
When I'm raising up babies, I'll feed babies once a month or once a week rather, maybe twice a week, just to push them past that fragile state because I want them to go through a couple sheds first. Because you're talking a small, I'd rather have a little bit larger animal where I can wean down on food as opposed to a really tiny animal that I'm just happy that it eats, it, gets past that certain fragile stage. So I see a lot of really fat Bolins in captivity, and I'm sure that plays a big factor in successfully reproducing them as well. In the wild, like I said, I've never come up on an animal feeding before, but I've found prey items, and I've found scat and such, and I've been able to see rodent bones and things like that, couscous teeth in it. And in the wild, I'm pretty sure, they're probably feeding, opportunistically, obviously, maybe a couple times a month, if not once a month on a large prey item. And I think that's a critical thing to really kind of consider with our captives, not just with Bolins, but with everything. How frequently are our animals in the wild eating? They have it made pretty well with us in captivity because it's like, okay, every 7 to 14 days or, whatnot, I'm going to feed them, and they know it, but, so it's like, it's interesting, we're, obviously when you're doing it as a business where your point is to reproduce animals to obviously sell, you want your animals to grow faster, so they are reproductively mature, so then you can breed them, but a lot of times, especially in specific animals that are a little bit more sensitive, like Bolins, that can really put a detrimental effect on these animals in the long term because you promote fatty liver, obesity, just a couch potato, just a fat bag of potato, sitting on the couch as opposed to something that actually moves around the enclosure and explores and is active. They are active snakes, but they're not like a racer where they're all over the place. So I try to promote an animal that's going to want to search for a basking site, search to look for water, explore its enclosure, as well as bask normally and then eat. That's what I try to do with the animals that I'm working with. So, but these environments are, when you've got an animal that lives in an environment that rarely goes over 80 degrees in the daytime for a prolonged amount of time, you can imagine their metabolism is adjusted for that in the wild too.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's what I was just going to say too, is like, just imagine, I mean, in enclosures in captivity, they're only roaming in X amount of feet by X amount of feet. Out in the wild, they're roaming the whole mountainside looking for food.
They can realistically go wherever they want.
A lot more up.
Yeah, exactly. So when we consider that with our captives, by feeding them every 7 days, like to the T, we're creating overweight animals because, it's like, okay, in the wild, they'd be moving around, they'd be, defecating here or there. And then also like, with providing enclosure size too, like when I'm raising up neonates and juveniles, I go like standard aquariums, up to a 30-gallon enclosure. And then once they hit that 30-gallon enclosure and they're ready to move from that, then they're in a large enclosure. And the exhibit I have them in at the facility is about a 15 by 7 by 7 enclosure. And they have multiple areas where they can bask. They've got a river that flows in there. They've got underground nesting chambers, heavy vegetation. So I want them to seek out what they want. If they're hungry, I already know they're going to eat. But I want them to climb up onto the rock and bask. I want them to climb up on the tree and stretch out and catch sun rays. I want to do things that's going to promote activity versus, being a couch potato. It's fun to be a couch potato, but, it doesn't help out.
Do you offer any arboreal dens and stuff for them too?
I don't have any arboreal dens because they typically are a terrestrial species, in these environments.
Okay.
But, they will climb. They certainly are capable of it. I've come across animals up in a branch or up on a tree in the wild basking, so they will climb. But they're not going to be laying or depositing eggs up in a tree kind of environment. It's going to be under the ground or nestled in between some rock, these limestone jagged rock areas. That's where they're going to drop their eggs and brood them.
What about like a den built into like the side of the wall above your waterfall, or kind of like, not an arboreal, but like, an elevated den?
Utilize it. They definitely utilize it. They're really an interesting snake. They're very observant. They're a very intelligent snake. I know people are like, oh, it's a snake. How smart can it be? But you can look at them. You can look at certain species and you can kind of gauge what they're about. And, in captivity, it's funny, like people are like, oh, I've been bitten by a Boelen's python, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that is a learned behavior from captivity related to feeding. That's what that is. Every single animal I have seen in the wild that I've been able to observe and document and photograph, I have never had a shred of aggression. And I've stuck my hand down into nest chambers where I couldn't see, and I'm feeling the snake tongue flicking my hand while I'm measuring eggs, and I'm still not being bitten or anything like that.
That's crazy.
That's ballsy.
Yeah, so it's a when you compare captivity to the wild, it's a very different animal.
That's awesome, man. That's wild.
Yeah.
So they're opposite. Are they? So are they typically like a typical python where they'll breed in the fall and lay in the spring, or are they breeding in the spring and laying in the fall?
So with Boelen's pythons, their typical cycle now, New Guinea cycle. So in captivity, what we're doing with them is we start our cycle in November, typically.
Okay.
And in the wild, their May, June, July is when they start breeding.
Right.
And then obviously the progression, the gravidity, nesting and all that follows shortly after that. So, late January into February is when animals are hatching in the wild. Is
anybody trying to do that in captivity? Starting July?
There's been a lot of people trying that. And to be honest with you, it seems like the best success we've had is acclimating into our captive environment. So, obviously, it's going to get colder in northern states versus southern states. They need that cycle drop. And, acclimating, that's one of the other things about with acclimating animals and then not getting rid of them, because then it starts the whole thing over. It's a big psychological, mess to do that. So while they're doing May, June, July is typically population, and then in captivity we're doing, starting into November, sometimes a little earlier, like end of October.
So that's kind of similar, basically like the balls kind of, that's when everybody starts gearing up the balls. I know like with like the carpets and stuff, you need that colder jump to get them kind of jump started too.
Yeah, they're always exposed to cool in the wild. So, and the weather there is very unique also because it's pretty consistent throughout the year. It always rains there. It just might rain a little longer or a little heavier. The days are, the temperatures are relatively similar throughout the year. I put out multiple data loggers throughout the year in certain areas. I've done them in nesting chambers. I've done them outside nests. I've done them just in the forest, and I've compared all that. And it's really interesting. It rarely goes over mid 80s in certain times of the year, because you've got a lot of that cloud cover that comes through, and it basically knocks out all that heat, and then it goes away, and then it just is blast amount of heat on certain areas, which the animals will come out, take advantage of that warmth, for about an hour, and then they're gone for the rest of the day, generating and keeping that warmth down in their nest.
Because they're almost above the cloud cover, correct?
Well, they're right below it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so
right
below middle range, depending. Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
This is really interesting.
I knew you didn't like that, Jeremy. Now, so let's jump back into a little bit. Let's go into some stories and places on the island. I remember one particular story I heard. I'm not sure. I forget who you were talking with. I'm not sure if you were talking with Cush and Wheeler, or I forget who you were talking with. But it was about the little guy. What was his name? What was his nickname?
The little guy?
Yeah, he had a real interesting nickname.
Was it?
He was part of the militia that took you guys in your last trip.
Oh, okay. That was on Good Enough Island. Okay.
Good enough. Yes.
So that was
talk a little bit about that and that experience with those peoples and the discretion between the two tribes and how you were escorted with police and that guy that told you I will kill him if you want me to. What was his name?
My friend
yes.
Nimrod. Yes.
Please go on.
Okay, so Good Enough. So I got to back up first because I've got to tell you about Good Enough first, because Good Enough is not part of New Guinea. Good Enough is an island about, I believe it's 60 miles. I think it's 60 miles off the coast of Port Moresby, which would be considered on the eastern portion of the island of New Guinea. So historically, all right, New Guinea itself. Bolin's pythons are endemic, obviously, to New Guinea. And for any of the listeners that don't know what the word endemic means, it means they're only found on New Guinea. So there was a historical report in the early 90s of Bolin's pythons inhabiting Good Enough Island. Now, Good Enough Island is relatively close to Papua New Guinea. However, there's never been any specimens or any photographs or any literature or anything cited from it. So at this point, and I have gone through the gambit of trying to track it down to the people that were even there to find it. Now, like my unicorn, basically, I'm still looking for if it's there. So I was contacted earlier this year by the Port Moresby Nature Park, which is a beautiful zoo. They do a lot of really wonderful conservation work, and they display only Papua New Guinea endemic animals there, which is really cool. So you won't find an elephant in New Guinea or a giraffe in New Guinea. These are all endemics, which is amazing. So they have like 18 to 20 species of bird of paradise there. They have endemic snakes that are there, as well as lizards, as well as amphibians. So it's a really beautiful place. So they contacted me up And I had always for years wanted to get to Goodenough Island, and it is not a it's not a easily accessible place, and let alone can you just show up. There's been some geologists that have been there, examining, the geology of the environment, historians, because it was a stronghold during World War II for the Japanese. It's a really, really interesting place. And so I was trying to figure a way to get there, and I was actually planning. I was like, all right, I'm just going to go. I'm just going to go and do it myself, I got contacted by this nature park, by the director, and at first I thought it was a joke. They said, hey, we're leading an expedition to the Goodenough Islands. We're doing an animal survey. We're particularly looking for Bolin's pythons, and we want you to be our species expert to help us identify habitat and help us search for this animal. And I'm like, yeah, okay, sure, whatever, I'll go. And then I did some research. I'm like, wow, that's legit.
Then you were like,
so I turns out, it's a very legitimate place, facility. The people involved were like straight, this is very academia, this is 100% accurate. I had my bags packed that night,
That's so awesome.
And I had about 5 months before I had to leave. So I was ready, and I just couldn't believe it. I'm like, I'm finally going to Goodenough. And the island itself is really bizarre. It's essentially 30 miles. I believe it's 30. I have to check my notes. A little over 30 miles across. So it's not a very large island, but it goes straight up. And when I say straight up, it goes straight up. And I've got some beautiful photographs of it that I'm trying to share them on certain stuff on my website, I think, too. But you can see the island itself, and it's just fantastic. And it's just this. We chartered a plane to get us there. We had the commissioner from the UK involved on this project, funding it. I mean, it was like a legit expedition going there to look for this animal and then anything else related there. So we're flying around this island, and it's just this mountainous crater of just, rock, and there's clouds that are blocking off the top of the peak. And then, it's like you could see these chunks of stone separated on the tops of the mountain, and these waterfalls are just cascading down. It was just incredible. It looked like Jurassic Park stuff. And we land there, and we had worked. Yeah, we had worked with the locals, and we had a couple contacts that were going to be our contacts on the ground, and we organized everything. And we had a local village that was aware of what we wanted to do, and they said, yeah, you can stay with us, blah, 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 this and that. And first off, they wouldn't let us go on the island without any kind of military presence, which I've dealt with that before. It's just like, whatever, And we get on the island, and we land on this old airstrip that was from World War II that the locals had basically, maintained, which was really impressive. So we land on this, strip. We circle around, and there's maybe there's a couple hundred locals that are just staring at us on the runway, just wanting to see what we're doing, wanting to see who's coming out, wanting to know who they can put onto this airplane to fly back, kind of things like that. And we get out of the plane, we unload our stuff, and then the pilot's like, all right, see you guys in 2 weeks, bye. And he just takes off.
Good luck.
Okay, here we go. And a lot of these people that we were with, it was a small group, but a lot of them had never been into an area this kind of remote and this kind of sketchy in a way. And I was just like, all right, I know the drill, who's our point man. And we had a couple guys come up to us that were military. And I remember seeing in the corner of my eye, there was a guy when we landed, I saw him there, and he was just kind of staring. He's probably 4 feet tall, 4.5 feet tall, barefoot, wearing these capri jeans, just built like a fridge. Just this guy was just veins popping out of his arms. He had a jacket on with a little military badge, and he's sitting there with this double-barrel shotgun that was probably as big as he was. And I kind of gave him a nod, hey, what's up? And he didn't even budge. And I was just like, all right. And I was like, later on, you know, we had two four-wheel drive vehicles to pick us up from the landing strip to take us into the interior of the island, because we had a base camp at this kind of lodge that was set up for oil workers that would come in. And no Westerners were really using it, so we were able to go in there, and they cooked for us while we were at the base camp area. And this is like, there's beach and stuff around us, so it's, so you can see like wreckage from the war and everything, and and I was the only white guy that was there, so obviously I got a lot of attention right off the bat, because they're like, who's this guy? Like, we're used to seeing locals here, for the oil, for oil and doing mining and whatnot. And, so we get to this area, and I see this guy with his shotgun, and I'm a very observant person, especially when I'm traveling to places like this. And I'm watching everybody get out of this guy's way, and just kind of like, shaking his hand, thank you. And so he's a top dog. He's only 4 feet tall, but he's, he doesn't put up with shit. I can tell that right off the bat. So he walks up and sits down on a couple of these like rattan strapped chairs. And I see him and 2 other military guys sitting there, and they're talking. And the interesting thing with the island is there's 3 different dialects in the island. First off, everybody speaks English on the island, which is really interesting.
That's good.
Fluent English. Then they speak a local dialect that is from the Bay Area, and then there's a Highland dialect. So nobody speaks, so that you won't find the Bay kind of, dialect up in the Highlands, and you won't find the Highlands down in the Bay. Not often at all. I mean, they might walk down here and there, but it's not a commonly spoken thing. Vice versa up there. So I hear them speak in their dialect, and I'm just like really interested in listening. And then I start seeing them chewing beetle nut. And
Beetle nut.
For people that listening and don't know what it is, it's basically it's a nut that is grown, and they chew it, and they mix it with 2 other pieces of ingredients. And in the ingredients, there's a large, it almost looks like a dried piece of asparagus, and then there's a bag of white powder, which is lime. So they mix that together, and then they chew the beetle nut. They tear the husk off of it, and they chew it up, and they mix it together, and it creates like a euphoric feel. So it's like smoking like 10 packs of cigarettes. I've also heard it's like doing cocaine. I don't know what that's like. What else? Also like just it gives you energy, it keeps you warm. But the real rotten thing about it is it stains your mouth and your teeth like deep red. So it's not a very attractive drug to use.
Put you in tune with the culture.
Yeah. So whenever I'm in New Guinea, I'm always chewing it. And I always, am buying it for people. And it's like sitting down and having a cigarette with somebody. You chew beetle nut and you talk. So I see these guys chewing it, and they're both real hard asses. And I walk up there and I ask them, it's like, hey, can I chew with you guys? And they kind of looked at me and kind of laughed and said a couple things, So I sat down and I started chewing beetle nut with these guys. And then they started looking at me, and they're like, oh my God, a Westerner, he likes beetle nut with us, blah, 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 blah. Wow, okay. So they started talking to me. Yeah. Basically, I was like, part of the gang. And turns out he told me his name was Nimrod, and I was like, okay. I was like,
don't laugh.
Yeah, I was like, don't laugh. I was like, is that your given name? He goes, yes. And I was like, okay. It's like, cool. I was super glad Nimrod was with us though too. So, and then everybody else was like, military with him also. They're like on kind of call, so to speak, on the island. And we became friends. And then we as we were continuing with this expedition and such, we got to the final end of it. Kind of make a long story short, like with it, we initially were supposed to stay with this one tribal group, and they, for whatever reason, decided they didn't want us there when we arrived. And I've been into several scenarios like that. And it's like, you can't really do anything about it because you're not going to start a tribal war. You're there on their turf. You just got to go with the flow. So we lost a couple days trying to find another family group that would take us in and let us do our surveys. And we found somebody. So we went with them, and we stayed with them for about a week and a half. And it was beautiful. We're really high up in the mountains, and it's just ridiculous climbing, and it's just a really freaky place just with the topography. And Nimrod is one of our chaperones, and he's got 2 other guys with him that are also pretty hardcore. Their names weren't as cool. Yeah, Nimrod also had a speedboat. He took me out on a speedboat to go to this neighboring island, and I was like holding on, like, because Nimrod only knows one speed, and it is go. That is Nimrod.
100.
Yeah, just 100%. Here we go. The boat's like up like this, and we're just jetting across the ocean. And the director, he didn't come with us. He had some prior obligation, which he was really upset about. And he told me, he's like, oh, by the way, don't go out on the open ocean with him. Well, whoops, it's like, so, but we did. So, but anyway, so we're back in the village, and I came down from the hike because we had different levels. There was a base camp, our middle camp that we had all our gear and everything, which is kind of like our stationed area. And then there was a spot up higher that was like a makeshift, like a makeshift lean-to kind of thing that protect us up there so we could do work and everything. I came down earlier because I was just having difficulty with the climbing up there because it was just so freaking hard. And like nobody had been up there in years. So we're literally going up there and cutting paths to go up. And we've got like a 12-inch path going up the side of a mountain that's got a 300-foot cliff fall next to us. So, and a lot of the locals didn't even go up there. And I was like, asking, why aren't you going there? Like, well, what for? And I'm like, I was like, aren't you interested? See what's up there, stuff like this. And, they were giving me all these different spiritual stories and all this stuff too. And I could understand why afterwards. But so we're sitting there, and I'm down there a couple of days. Well, a local boy comes up and he has a note that he gives to one of the military guys with us, and I'm watching their reaction, and they're just kind of like, like, here we go. And I asked him, what was the deal? And he said, oh, the tribe that we were supposed to stay with first wants us to leave the mountain now. And I'm like, hell no. It's like, we're already up here. What's the problem? They had the opportunity for us to stay with them. We were obviously going to pay our way and feed them and all this stuff. It's like, what's the problem? It's like, well, they want us gone. And then I'm like, well, do we need to leave? They're like, no, we're not going anywhere. So I was like, okay, great. You guys are watching our back. We're just going to keep doing what we're doing. Well, we waited for the rest of the group to come back down. There was a couple other team members that were up on the cliff area that we were at. They came down like 2 days later, and we kind of filled everybody in. We had a big meeting. I was like, okay, this is what we're going to do. This other group wants us out of here. This tribal group that is with us does not want us to leave. They said, don't be afraid. We're going to take care of it. So that night, when everybody came down, I started noticing like Nimrod and these other guys stringing up like rope around the vicinity of our area. And they put like these bells on it. And I was just watching them, and I wasn't going to question what they were doing. I was like, and then in that morning, I realized what it was apparently the other group said they were going to take us off the mountain. So they set these trip lines up for them. So that way, if they were to walk through the camp, they'd be able to hear what was going on. So I'm just like, all right, this is cool, So that following morning, one of the little boys from down below comes running up and says that the other neighboring tribe is trying to flank us around the other side of the mountain, and they're coming around behind us as well as coming from the front. So they said, all we've got to do is just wait. So we sat there and waited for them. And Nimrod was sitting next to me, and I looked at him. I was like, oh man, what a pain. Are we going to leave now? He goes, yeah, we'll leave. Don't worry. And he goes, are you afraid? And I said, no, I'm not afraid. And he goes, good. And I said, are you afraid? He goes, no, I'll kill them all. And then he walked off. And I was like, all right, I'm sure you will. So I found out later that he left to go down, and he disarmed by himself the entire tribe that was coming up to tell us to leave. He took all, because they came up with a bunch of machetes, all these knives, all these spears, and he disarmed everybody. And he comes walking up with a giant armful of all these knives and machetes and things, and his shotgun on his shoulder, and all these people walking up that are like in traditional attire. And he puts it down underneath the table. And then at the same time, the other group comes up from the back, and there's 2 other military guys waiting there with guns pointed right at them saying, if you want to start a problem, we'll have the military come here and they will bomb you. And at that point, I was like, we're just here to do research. We don't want to, man. And he's like, no, it's all right. Don't worry about that. That's why we're here. And I'm like, so they had they had a big military radio thing with him, and they had a helicopter ready to come through and just start spraying the mountainside essentially. And I'm like, no, so they came through. And we had a huge meeting with this other tribal group where they introduced themselves and who they were the son of, or who they were the grandfather of, and what their issue with us was. And it always boils down to jealousy, because they want the person that's coming into the village that's paying to go with them. So it's always a jealousy thing. It's nothing personal. So we figured it out. We gave them like $100. And then they were happy. They took all their knives and then they left. And then we got out of there quick. We took a different route around the mountain on a different path. One of the guys was like, "Hey, follow me. I know a shortcut and it's a secret." And he like opened up these trees and it was like this path that went like straight down through this river. So we just went down this river for like 2 hours and we finally made it to the road where our 4-wheel drive vehicles were and picked us up. So that's my Nimrod story. He's awesome. I miss that guy. He was super short.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, but they were finding like relics from the war there. Apparently, somebody had a map of all the gun cache that was left everywhere, so they knew where all the guns were, and the military was trying to get that from them because they didn't want all the locals to have all these firearms and stuff. But they told me they found a bomb a couple of years ago. They detonated it in the mountains, and I mean, it's crazy. The Japanese left everything there, so you'll find like bullet casings and coins. It was really interesting.
Huh. That is really cool. I mean, maybe that's where, because I've heard of Good Enough Island. I bet you that's what it's from, is just from like World War II history. That's probably why it's ringing a bell in my head.
Yeah, Australia was, there fighting the Japanese. When I left the island and I had a couple days left in Port Moresby, they have an incredible museum. I love museums, so I got to go there to see their artifact collection, and they had a fascinating exhibit they had put up about all this, all these things they found in the mountains that were part of that war. And it was really incredible. Some of the stuff they had, like fire, all these weapons and uniforms and things they found, and letters and all this stuff. And one of the interesting things they found that I thought was super crazy was they actually found an Australian military boot, and it had a foot still in it. And they checked the DNA on the foot, and the foot came back as from the Japanese. So what was going on was, when the Japanese were invading the island, they did not have the appropriate equipment and boots and clothing to work in that tropical environment. So when they would kill one of the Australian soldiers, they would steal their uniforms. And one of them was in one of the Australian, their boots, because they were designed to work in that kind of an environment. So it was really interesting to see that historical side of it.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. So, but I'll be going back to Good Enough soon. Probably maybe next year. I've got a lot of travel I've got to do still, but I'm still hoping to go back to Good Enough because it's unfinished business to have there. So
nice.
And I'll
nice.
Did you find any cool species while you were over there that you weren't expecting to see?
Yeah, so the island is very interesting. Like I said initially, we did not find Bolinite there where we were at. However, we did get a lot of information because when we had the downtime, when we had to find a new place to go on the island, we went to all the little schools that were there, and we brought a lot of material with us, like posters and pictures and things like that, saying, hey, we're looking for this snake. If you've seen it, let us know. Come find us, things like that. Obviously, we get a lot of BS stuff from people because they wanted attention or they wanted money. So we had to weed out a lot of those kind of oh, I've seen that animal, I know where it's at, it's here all over the place, kind of stuff like that. I did find a couple people though that were older, that were outside of the ring of BS people, and they were just kind of watching us. And I remember after everything, died down and we were done doing our spiel about, what we're there for, because we wanted to let everybody know what we were doing. I walked up to that guy and I asked him, I was like, hey, my name is Ari, thank you for having us here. It's a real privilege. You've got such a beautiful place. I'm really fascinated about the animals you have here. Have you ever seen this snake? He goes, I know that snake. And I said, can you tell me about it? And he goes, oh yeah, we see it come out to warm up in the sun outside of our gardens up in the mountains. And I was like, oh, okay. He goes, I've seen it with my grandfather before. He goes, you don't see them very often because they're very secretive, but they're there. And I was like, okay. So we had about 5 or 6, interactions with people that were like that make me still think that it's possibly there or just in a different place. The one thing, though, that I did notice about the island was where we were at was it had been completely hunted out. Like, there were no birds, there were no rodents on the ground, there were very few snakes. There's supposed to be ground wallaby there. We didn't see any. I didn't see any scat, or I didn't see any tracks. I didn't even see any kind of biological material like fur or feathers on any of the locals either.
No couscous, no ground rodents.
So they were away from being hit with a slingshot. But then we found out that there was another spot on the other side of the mountain. It was almost like a preserve that had been established in the early 90s, I believe, to protect the rock wallaby that's there. It's a local endemic. So, I was telling him, was like, hey, this would be a good place for us to check next time. However, I actually just got contacted by one of the group members. There are some of the locals that are actually there still. They've been setting up trail cameras out there for months and months and months for us to find, just to see what kind of fauna is there left. And they send me stuff every once in a while. But we found 6, I think, of the 9 known or supposed to be known snakes that are there. We found there was like a slaty gray type of snake that was down in these mangroves. We found Candoya, which are the Pacific Island boas and the Indonesian ground boas. We found 2 species of those. I found a really interesting Highland keelback. We also found a potentially new species of scrub python that was there.
That was really interesting, that one.
Yeah, that was really cool. Holding that thing was like, I got to photograph stuff. So it's still working on with the university there to try to keep it out, but it does appear to be different. So I'm hoping that the university and the Museum of Port Moresby will, jump on it soon to try to identify it and get it named. Then there was another snake. Was another small snake. Green tree pythons are there. I did not see any when I was there last time, even though I was shown photos of them. Olive pythons, like Apodora, are supposed to be there. They say they feed off of those often because they're a good food source, but I didn't see any. And then obviously the Bolins is supposed to be there.
Now, Apodora, they'll eat other snakes, correct? Or is it just in breeding is when they eat others?
They'll eat other snakes. Yeah.
Right. So that's a whole another predator there to compete with, and a big snake as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the only thing with the Apodora is the Apodora are lower in elevation. They're not going to be handling the cooler environment that Bull and I would be. But it's a different island, so those animals could have adapted differently as well. There's very little information about the reptile flora that's there, or fauna rather. So we're still, it's still a very new place as far as the discovery goes to really find out what's there. So.
That's wild.
Now I'm curious, what about the scrub that you guys found is different from other scrubs?
So obviously the size of the animal that we had, not to say that they're a smaller species, but they are an island form, so they might be a little smaller. The coloration was different. Scalation was definitely different. It had more of the, the Tracyi, the Halmahera scrub kind of face to it. It was more elongated. It was just a visually different animal. Morphologically, it looked different. When I was holding it, I was like, this is different looking to me. And I'm like trying to figure out like why, because I was just so shocked. I'm like looking at it, I'm like, they brought this out and they said, we found one of these. You want to see it? And I said, yeah, bring it here. I want to see it. and I was taking photos of it. And as I was photographing, I was like, man, the scales on it are, its head scales are different. Visually, it was different looking. So I understand there was a specimen that was in the London Museum. I think that was the DNA was taken on it. It came back different, but I don't know if that's particularly the same animal on good enough. So what we're going to try to do is we'll get permits to collect a couple animals. A couple of those animals will be preserved and examined, and the DNA will be done on them and everything like that. Morphologically, everything will be examined, and then see if they place into anything different. So, but it was really cool.
Super neat. Was anything highlighted, Jeremy, that you wanted to touch on from the chat or anything like that? Because I got a couple wrap up things, and we can get Ari out of here.
Nobody's dropped any questions yet. So anybody in the chat, if you do have any questions, feel free to drop them in. John, sorry, hope you get your baby rack thermostat issue figured out.
Yes, sir.
Let me go ahead and run to the last channel sponsor, Chris, and then
do it up.
Go into your wrap up topics, bro.
Head on over to Triforce Morphs if you're looking for that missing piece in your ball python breeding project. While you're there, add a little bit of laser citron to the mix, folks. John and Christine can also hook you up with the crested gecko, so don't forget that. Turn up the heat with Triforce Morphs. If you want to use the best reptile record keeping and tracking software on the market today, scan the QR code or click our partnership link in the description down below for a free 30-day trial of Husbandry Pro. I promise you, you will not regret it.
Give Husbandry Pro a try, folks. Sorry about that. I had an itch in my throat.
You gotta blow that out, man.
Dude, sometimes when it just gets you right there. Anyway, everybody, go use that code Warful60. Give it a shot. Without Husbandry Pro, I would be lost. Helps not only with me keeping track of who I'm supposed to feed, what days and when, my breeding plans, uploading clutches and all that stuff. Like it literally makes my life as a breeder so much easier. Carpets or green trees, there's that lineage section, so you can't argue with that. If lineage is important, there's a lineage section on Husbandry Pro for each animal you produce, so you can track who mom and dad is and so on and so forth. So keep that in mind, guys.
So I guess just with wrapping up, so if somebody else would be interested in something like this, where can others start to do something like this? Maybe not say with Bull and I, say with another species or something like that. Where could they start to do things like this? Is it personally funded? Can they raise money? Things like that.
So with my research that I've been doing, I fund it out of my own pocket, as well as by donors and sponsors. One of my main sponsors and a very good friend of mine is Todd Goodman from Timberline Crickets. He has been supporting me for the last, long time. And his help really, really influences a lot of what I'm doing there. It's allowing me to continue to do the work I'm doing, as well as help the family group that I live with when I'm there, because they're part of my research, essentially. Right. They help me with what I need to do. They keep track of things for me. They continue to monitor the mountain when I'm not there, and they're just good people that need help. So when they help me, I help them. And but like I said, so aside from having donations or grants, and everything comes out of my own pocket. So I'm not a wealthy person, but I'm wealthy with my life, I guess, my experiences.
Right.
But I encourage people, I don't know, people are just afraid to try, I think. And we're not getting any younger. So it's if there's something you're passionate about, just go for it. If you're wanting to learn, try to find every piece of literature or every video or every person that's worked with what you're interested in, and just be that fly that's buzzing around them to just gain information. You know, one of the things about the industry that frustrates me, that I see getting more positive, is just the lack of interaction and positive, collaboration. We lack that as a community, and that's where we're going to advance, not just personally, but like as an industry. And it's sad. You need to be able to. You shouldn't be afraid to ask people questions, and you shouldn't be able to answer, or you shouldn't be afraid to answer those questions if you don't even know them. Just say, I don't know. I love it when people will send me a message and be like, hey, blah 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 about Bolin's pythons. Like, oh, that's awesome. Yeah, sure. Blah blah blah. If I don't know the answer, I'll tell you I don't know. But don't be afraid to ask people. And then if you're really passionate about it and you want to see it, go see it. I'm not telling people to go to New Guinea, because it's obviously very dangerous and you can't just show up. Just please don't.
Well, that's how you started, right?
Don't ruin what you got going on.
Did you just show up 15 years ago?
Yeah, I did. I'm kind of a dumbass sometimes, but whatever. I mean, I encourage you, to explore the world. We live in an incredible world. There's all sorts of amazing things, not just reptiles. There's culture. There's, all this stuff. Don't be afraid. Just, if it's something you're passionate about, even if it's like, ball pythons. I'm not harping on ball python people at all. Anyways, go out and see what a ball python looks like in the wild, for God's sakes. It's cool. You might gain some different kind of a knowledge about it, or if you're into green tree pythons, try to go find a green tree python, find somebody that's been there and contact them, ask them, hey, can I go? Or how do I go see one of these? If you're into boas, go to Central and South America. Try to find this stuff. Take photos. Just sit there and watch and observe things. We're so in a rush nowadays with everything. We're always looking at our damn phones on stuff. Get outside and enjoy it.
Take a deep breath.
I'm doing my parent talk right now to my daughter. It's like, just experience life, man.
Love it.
Just do it. If you're, like I said, don't be afraid. If you can't do it, you can't do it. But at least you tried. That's the thing. At least try.
Sure.
Good question. Where is one place you would love to go that you haven't been yet? Ooh. Okay. So one place I would love to go to the Middle East. Now it's not a good time. I would love to go to Iran. I would love to go to Yemen. I would love to go to Ethiopia.
Throw that beard in and put a towel up there. You got it.
Throw my beard in, actually, a place that's not a huge place for herps. I would love to go to Socotra, however you like to pronounce it, which is an incredible island with plant diversity that's still prehistoric. I mean, there's amazing places to go. It's just my existence in life at this point is Bolin's pythons. It's hard for me to go to other places because it's everyone's like, oh, have you ever seen a Komodo dragon in the wild? No, because I'm in the highlands living with the Donnie and I'm looking for Bolin's python. So it's but like I said, I'll get off my high horse and just try it, just don't be afraid,
I know that's one thing, I would love to go to Australia.
Yeah. Costa Rica, Australia, Central America.
Here's the thing, Ari. If I would go to Australia, I would end up in jail because I would find something. I'd be like, I think I could sneak this home and not get caught. I think I can do it. And
take a photo. Learn to practice your photography and take a beautiful photo and print that photo off on your wall.
Man, Keithers,
you're not going to have to feed that photo, and your family's not going to have to visit you in jail because of that photo.
This is true.
Right? But some of these places like Costa Rica and Australia, they're fascinating places, but they're safe to go to. There's people going there. Experience it, man. That's. I got to the point where I was just I cannot find any more information about this animal, so I have to go there and see it. When I got off the plane, or the multiple planes that it took me to get there, it was not what I expected at all. And it took me, I think, 2 or 3 times to actually see one of these snakes. And it was just because, you can't just go and show up and see it. It takes time. It takes planning. It takes the right people to be with. There are laws that are regulating things that you have to protect yourself with and be aware of. So it's, these are all things that are accomplishable for anybody, we're running out of time as we get older. That's one thing. It's like, I remember I just turned 46. I don't feel 46, but I just turned it. So it's like, I'm not going to be around forever. So I'm trying to enjoy everything I possibly can about what I'm doing before I can. The day that I can't go to New Guinea again because I'm physically not able to will be a very sad day for me. So I want to take in every ounce of that while I can.
Yep. I feel that. Damn.
Yeah.
So in short, what, if you could tell the future, what's after Boland's?
Death.
That's perfect. That's exactly what I wanted to hear.
Chris, there isn't a what's after Boland's. It is Boland's, because that's what I do. Until I stop breathing, that is what I'll do.
All right. Fair enough. If you ever get sidetracked, I'm gonna come get you.
Yeah. I mean, I know. I love all sorts of reptiles. I have some favorites, but it's Boland's. It's like, just what, it's like, there's a quote, it's like, the two most important times in your life are when you were born and then what you realize you were born for. And my reasoning was to study Boland's pythons. Mic drop.
Bang.
Bang.
Nice. That's awesome. My basic last question is, I just want you to basically discuss the platform that the Trap Talk's giving you Friday mornings now, which I tuned into, which was awesome. I'm really excited for it. Just touch on that for the next 5-10, and then we'll get you out of here.
Yeah, so I've been friends with MJ for a while now. He's a crazy man, but I love him. I really enjoy his passion and his drive for what he is doing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's wonderful to see, and I really respect him for that. And he obviously he's interviewed me a number of times, and we had kind of discussed something, behind closed doors about it. And I got to a point where I'm just like, you know what? I want to set a platform for a specific species, obviously Boland's, because nobody's, there's been a few people that have done specific stuff, and it's difficult to keep an audience, and let alone the topic. So I'm like, I want to set something up where it's a platform for me to discuss topics related to Boland's, my research, individuals I know that have done historical things with these animals, and kind of create a digital vault that I've said before, where when I'm gone and when some of these other people that are old schoolers are gone, it'll still be here for people to reference, So he was really, really generous, offering me a slot on Friday mornings twice a month, where I'm doing the Boland's Python Roundtable. And it's going to be a lot of fun. I've got a lot of really incredible guests that I'm going to bring on that are a lot of old schoolers, and a lot of these young kids don't even have any clue who they are, which is going to be fun.
I love it. I'm so excited.
These are the people that have really set the stage for us to do what we're doing now, and then I'm going to discuss a lot of debating things with it on the topic, like husbandry, reproduction, historical accounts, things like that. I really just want to have a fun platform, and it's a good place for me to kind of, decompress from the day and, talk about things that make me happy. I'm actually pre-recording an episode tomorrow because I'm heading back out into the field next week.
Oh wow!
So I gotta put something up for him, and then he's gonna put it out. But I've got some. It's gonna be fun. So, but yeah,
awesome.
It's called the Boland's Python Roundtable. It's on the Trap Talk Network, and it'll be really cool for people to enjoy. I hope you do. So make sure you like it, share it, and follow it, as you guys say. You can also find me on my Instagram, Project Black Python. And then just on in projectblackpython.org, which is my website, which I try to update a lot of my stuff on. I have a lot of things going on just with the zoo, and then my private research, and then just closing the door and being Ari for a couple hours is hard. So, you know, I try to put stuff up when I can. And yeah, if you're wanting to reach out and just talk and say hi, feel free. You know, I'm not holding some secret, you know, bowling stuff. You know, I share everything that I find or everything I observe or everything I learn, and I encourage people to reach out and just let's have a conversation. You know, it's like, you know, and if I'm at a show, come up and talk to me. It's nice meeting somebody in person because everything is so damn digital these days. It's just like, you know, people forget what it's like to have a conversation with a person. You know,
sure.
And, you know, so it's one of those things. But yeah, so you can find me there, and I've got another book I'm working on too that's coming out probably in the next year. It's going to be the volume 2 of Serpents in the Clouds, so that'll be really cool. It'll have the Good Enough Island stuff. You'll see pictures of Nimrod in there, and I'll also have some P&G stuff with the Port Moresby Nature Park in there too. So I've got. Go ahead.
Let's see. Where can we find volume 1 at?
Well, Black Python, which was the first book I did in the early 2000s, it's been out of print for a while, so it's a hard one to find. Serpents in the Clouds is also out of print, but I have seen copies pop up on Facebook, like the Michael Crick. I'm giving him a little shout out. He posts out a lot of books and things like that. So he's a good source to find a copy. I might have 1 or 2 laying around that I might do like a drawing for or something like that. It just depends. You know.
What was that guy's name that might have some in print?
Pardon me?
What was that gentleman's name that might have some in print?
Michael Crick. He's on Facebook, and he has, I think it's herpetological literature. It's a Facebook group or something like that. And he's a book supplier, so he does a lot of that stuff. He pops it up every once in a while. I see it. So, yeah. But the next book will be really cool. It'll be kind of like, it'll be the volume 2 for it. So it'll have, you know, the entire island of New Guinea and Good Enough Island story in it. So it should be really, really cool. So.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, very cool.
Actually, one place to look for it, Chris, might be at some of the shows. I know every once in a while there's a person that's slowly got books out.
I'll be looking at
I've been able to find the complete carpet python, like the first
There you go.
And now I never
And that's the
jumped
other
on
thing
it.
too. Like, I want to encourage people to buy books, man. Come on. You know, books are forever, you know. Well, I mean, the digital stuff's forever, but there's something about a book that is just like, you know, the way it smells, the way you hold it. You know, you can go back later and read it. You don't have to worry about if your history got deleted because your wife was looking in your computer or whatever. Who knows? But,
Jeremy deletes his own history. It's not his wife.
Yeah, I mean, get some books. You know, get books and read about stuff. And in the books, you'll see all these people that are like so monumental to what we're doing that have like really paved the way for, you know, what our love is. If it's ball pythons, chondros, carpets, turtles, tortoises, amphibians, you know, it's all good. What is my
What's your
favorite?
second favorite species?
Oh, Varanus salvadori, the crocodile monitor, is my second favorite.
Ooh.
Yes. And then it's Trachyboas from Ecuador, Protobothrops manxionensis from China. What else? Azemiops fea, from China also. I mean, I could go through a list. I like a lot of cool stuff. I love Lanthanotus, the Borneo earless. I should just send Crick some books and damn it, I'll read it to him.
Sweet. Is there anywhere where anybody can go, Ari, to donate money? Do you have an account? Do you have a fund set up for like Bold and Smith's research? Like a funding or anything?
I have a PayPal that I kind of put out every once in a while. Or you could just send me a message on Facebook or Instagram and say, hey, I want to donate. How do I do it? And I can kind of just say, hey, you can send it to this, whatever. But everything helps. You know, it all goes back to my research and to the family group that I'm a part of. You know, I just, when I go out there. So
cool. Very cool.
So hit Ari up, everybody. All of his links are in the description down below. Instagram, the website. I gotta say, the website is phenomenal looking, dude.
Oh,
I was cruising it a little bit before Karen called me up for. I think her and Hadley found a spider somewhere, and I had to go eradicate the evil spider.
To deal with, you know. got to deal with that stuff. Got to, the front line. You got to be at the front lines. But I'm trying to update as much as I can on my site. Like I said, it's, I got a lot of stuff going on. But there's a lot of really good information on there. And I change stuff up every once in a while if we find out. It's like, oh, okay, we thought this worked out. Well, it actually works better this way and stuff. But yeah, no, it's a cool site, and it's fun. So I put stuff up there when I can, and come out to the zoo, man. It's awesome. You can see the Boland's exhibit here. Come to Reptilandia. It's an incredible place.
I want to try to get to Texas in either late 26 or 27. I want to try to get down to a show and just check it all out.
We've been starting to do the Carpet Fest stuff with the Carpet Fest guys, which are awesome.
See, now he's just like dangling that carrot.
Now we're talking.
Carpet Fest. Come on, man. Eat the carrot already.
I missed the one up here with Ryan and freaking.
I say Brandon Wheeler was at the last one.
I was trying to get the NPR guys to come out too. For the Carpet Fest that they do as well, but it's starting to gain a lot of momentum. I mean, man, come on out. We're rural, which is nice, but we're not so rural where you got to pack water in and stuff like that. Even though I like that, but we got good barbecue around here. I mean, beer. We'll talk snakes for hours, and you can walk around. We shut the zoo down, and we have a big cookout. And everybody's here, and we have the zoo completely open, and you can walk through and see all these incredible animals and these exhibits. It's a lot of fun, and it's a really safe place for people to, it's just we just want to create a really fun place for people to come.
Man's weekend, Jeremy. Road trip, bro.
I was gonna say,
there you go. Come on out, man. There's little hotels right around Airbnbs, man. Good stuff.
We'll do Carpet Fest, and we'll bring Sorrentino along so he can read to us at night and put us to sleep.
He's for entertainment.
And the other thing is, like, all the people that come out, it's like you'll meet so many cool, interesting people that are into the same stuff, and like a lot of people that are into different stuff too. And like I know people that that hooked up and are like swapping bloodline with different stuff. I mean, it's just a really fun event. It's fun, So
I know I enjoyed the Carpet Fest up here the 2 years that I went. I haven't heard anything about this year, so I don't even know if they're doing a Carpet Fest this year. I haven't heard anything.
I don't know, honestly. I haven't seen. Maybe it's because they're coming to this one.
That could be. That very well could be.
It could be.
You never know. Actually,
yeah.
I guess the next Hamburg's October. I guess
October 18th.
Going too.
Yeah,
when
go and find out what's going on with that.
I believe this one is October 25th. I believe
week after.
All right. Yeah, maybe they are.
Just tell work you're sick. Just come in.
October 25th.
Almighty plane ticket. I'm worried about paying for.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Plus, I don't have one of those. What is it? The Me ID or whatever the hell it is.
So what?
That you gotta have a special ID now to be flying on planes.
No, you don't. Not to stay in the nation.
I thought it was any airplane.
Passport. You need a passport if you leave the United States.
He doesn't have a
need the passport if you leave, but I thought there was you had to have something special to be flying on airlines now.
Do you have a passport?
No. License.
Dude,
you don't.
I look like a man that's going to go out of country, man.
It's always just good to have one.
I went to Tennessee one time, and it was the trip from hell. I've never gone out of Pennsylvania since.
There's nothing about flying. You just have to have your driver's license. That's it. My wife doesn't drive, and she has an ID, and it works fine.
Okay. I thought there was like some special it was your driver's license, but I thought you had to have some
real ID.
Real ID, that's what it is. Real ID.
Not a fake ID.
No.
I thought that went. Okay, I thought that went into effect already.
Yeah, so come on down. No excuse now.
We might have to. Maybe we'll have to shoot for next year. This will be a little too short of notice. We'll bring that one on camera. But next year, Chris. Next year.
That's what I said. 27, man. Or 26.
I was going to say 26 is next year, Chris. We're 25, bro. Don't be
hey, I'm planned out. I got shit to do, bro. I got things to accomplish. Awesome. Anything wrap up, Jeremy?
The only thing I got to wrap up is one. Ari, thank you very much, dude, for coming on tonight. I greatly appreciate it. It was I definitely learned, and also got some chuckles about Nimrod. Like that while you're telling the story,
when I see him, I'm going to
my
tell him that he's
imagination
famous
runs
now.
wild.
Yeah.
Yo, get a tattoo of Nimrod while you're over there. That'll be real.
Yeah, no, I'm going to tell him he's famous now in the States because I've told
Yeah.
the
Oh,
story.
yeah. Hell yeah,
The thing is, now he's going to sell books like crazy when he releases Volume 2 out, because everybody's going to want to see what the hell Nimrod looks like.
Hey,
Yeah.
if you can
He's
get
a
Nimrod,
badass. That's what
if
he
you
is,
can
like.
get him on a podcast for like 10 minutes, shit be golden.
Oh, yeah.
Get him
Actually,
on a Friday morning.
Oh, yeah. I actually have one of my friends ready for one of the podcasts, and he is a tribal member of, it's called Chimbu, and they're the skeleton people from Papua New Guinea.
Yeah.
So he's going to come on and talk to us also because he works at the nature park. So
Okay.
it'll be cool.
I can't wait. That's awesome. And that's a nature park you haven't got into yet, correct?
No, that's the nature park that's in Port Moresby. The group that I went with. The preserve is on the other side of the island that I haven't reached yet.
Okay. That's the one. All right. Awesome. Cool.
Sarah says to check your IG message, Chris.
I know. I can't look at them while I'm on here. I saw their message to me. Awesome, Ari. I appreciate your time. Just hang out backstage.
Yeah, hang on one second, Ari. We'll end this up, and then it'll kick us out when it ends it, and then I'll bring us all back in once it's done running its outro and everything. But, everybody, thank you very much for tuning in. I do apologize for us being gone for so long.
It's just business.
Hold on, let me put a. Damn. See, this is what happens when you're gone too long from doing this shit.
Stop pushing
Get
buttons.
what buttons? Well, I'm trying to get us all equal, and I forgot what button to push. Next, all right. So we were back for this weekend. Next weekend, we're off.
Aw.
I've got Repticon. So 2-day show, come back, unpack. I'm gonna be zonked, I'm pretty sure. The kids, I know, have very much enjoyed old Pop being around as much as he has here the past couple of weeks. So I'm trying to find that happy medium balance again. So next Sunday we will be off again, folks. So if you want to come out and see my pretty face and my wonderful angelic voice, come out to Repticon. I'll bullshit with you out there. Maybe sell you a snake or something. But yeah, come out to Repticon. I know Triforce, John and Christine are going to be there. Shelly should have been there, but he's too good to come out with us. He said to hell with that crap. But anyway, come out, say hi, buy some stuff. But then we will be back on the following Sunday with Jim from Ectothermic Dungeon.
Ooh, Jim.
So
cool.
We are going. I'm pretty sure if I was a betting man, we'll have Mr. Nathan from Infinite Possible Pythons on for the first time since in 6 months. I'm sure that's the one live he'll actually pop up.
You better get on. I want to see some adder stuff.
So we were going to be talking adder and bag when we have Jim on. So make sure you guys are here for that one. And then after that, I think I don't want to lie to the people. I don't want to get it. It's kind of choppy here and there. So
I think we have
Jim on, and then the following weekend, I'm off.
Oh my goodness!
I've got a gun show that weekend. So I'm on Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Gotta sell the gun.
Yeah, gotta move Pop's collection off. But then after that, folks, I promise, then we are back to Sundays. I mean, you can always take control of it, Chris. I mean, if you want to do it, run one. I can set you up as a moderator and stuff.
Maybe we'll have to talk.
Yeah.
Shortly after that, we got Warren on.
I said, yeah, we got Mr. Warren Booth on.
Dr. Warren.
Mr. Warren, huh?
Dr. Warren.
Yep.
He's all right.
So we got him on the schedule as well. So got some heavy hitters, and plus we got to fill in some slots too. So your DMs might be lighting up at some time. Anybody that's in the chats and stuff. So just keep an eye. But Ari, again, thank you very much. We greatly appreciate you being on.
My pleasure, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope everybody else did.
I know. I'm not much of a
Hell
book
yeah.
reader, but I will tell you this much: my interests are piqued by the book. One, not only to support you, but also so that way I can see Nimrod.
Yes. Gosh, I hope you're not disappointed when you see him. You know,
That's what she said.
I've got this mental picture, and I don't know.
cool. Yeah, he just kept walking around with that shotgun, just the whole time. I was like, oh God, man, killing me, Nimrod.
little trigger happy feeling type going on.
Yeah.
Tara says Shelly takes over. See, Tara's all for you taking over for a live report.
I'll have her come on and guest with me.
Tara, yes, we do need to do a members live as well. I do apologize to all the channel members. I've been slacking on the members only lives, but also she also means just do a live and have the members on, try to do like a round table with the members, which would not be a bad idea, Tara. Yeah, that's actually a good idea. We'll have to talk about that and try to work something like that in. But everybody, have an awesome rest of the week. Beautiful weather is here. Enjoy yourself. Do something fun. And just have a damn good time.
Get outside.
Yeah.
It's the start of the week.
Yeah, get outside.
Get outside.
Yeah,
Put the phone on the back burner. Put that sucker down because there ain't no good coming from that shit at the moment. Put it down.
Find your own Nimrod. That's right. That's right. Or not.
Oh man. Thanks again, everybody. We will see you. Well, if Chris takes over, he'll see you next week. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. But take care, and if you guys didn't check out this week's video, because I noticed there's not that many views on it. It's only like 100 some views on it. Go check out this week's video because we did have a pretty cool baby from the One Clutch. So go check out that video, and at least you get some chuckles from the kids helping with the egg cuttings. I mean, it's always fun to get them involved with that stuff. Everybody loves Hudson. Just make sure your volume's down for the first half of it. The egg cuttings keep your volume low, folks. That's all I can tell you. Hudson gets loud. But anyway, have an awesome rest of the week, and we will see you next time. Later.
Peace.